Hi, and welcome to another one of these videos where I tell a bunch of stories and hope you guys enjoy them. I'm not going to drag this on, so here they are. I've been a skeptic but always open-minded to the unexplainable. My parents believe in ghosts and have told me the stories when I was in my mid-teens about the first house we lived in, as well as the interactions I would have with the ghosts as a baby. Now here's what happened at 4:30 a.m. a few days ago. I had stayed around my BO's house for the night. I've never felt more uncomfortable at night, but sometimes I feel like I'm being watched, but I don't think much of it. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. randomly feeling odd, like I was being watched. I turned to roll over as I got onto my back. I looked up and there was an old man floating above the far corner of the bed. He had messy medium-length hair, but balding, missing teeth, blue and white striped pajamas, a leather brown book, and grey socks. He also had this faint, most like blue-grey glow around him. He was extremely detailed, like he was in the light despite the room being pitch black. I let out a surprised, "Oh," because I jumped at the sight. He turned to face me, recognized that I could see him, almost shrugged. Then as I'm shaking my boyfriend to wake up, he turns and disappears through the ceiling. Last thing I see is his feet going through the ceiling. I looked online, but it's definitely not sleep paralysis, as I was moving, speaking, and blinking. Even after turning to face my boyfriend and turning back, he was still in the same position. I didn't feel threatened or afraid, just a bit shocked as anyone would be. When my daughter was born, I would be the only one to primarily put her to bed in her crib at night. I would rock her back and forth in an old chair in the corner of the room. One night I was rocking her to sleep. She perked up and started waving at the wall in the room. It was weird, but children do weird things, so I brushed it off. She would do weird things like this every other night. However, the creepiest moment was one night when she was sleeping in the bed with my wife and I, and me and my daughter, both woke up at the same time in the middle of the night. I saw the door to our bedroom was wide open and my daughter propped herself up, giggled, and covered her eyes, saying, "Peekaboo, I see you," into the darkness. This would be creepy enough on its own, but my daughter was very young and couldn't say many phrases at the time, and this was the first time she ever said those words. Needless to say, it was an uneasy night. This happened when I was about 15 in a little town called St. Helens, just outside of Portland, Oregon. At the time, our family was really going through some tough obstacles. My dad had been acting very strange, talking to himself and not acting as normally as he did for a couple days. His personality would change quite often. At the time, he was not diagnosed with schizophrenia. We were trying to get him help. Leading up to the night I had seen this conversing with my dad, I had also experienced very strange dreams, and it felt like I had been sat on by someone heavy. I looked and no one was there. My brother had seen something he called the garbage man on numerous occasions. He said it looked like a bag was over his head and was being sucked into his mouth and eye sockets. It leaned over him and appeared to be very tall. This thing visited him a few times. It was 2 a.m. and I heard my dad talking to someone or himself. At this point I had a routine of going and talking with him to calm him. My bedroom had been right next to the kitchen and the bathroom because it was a small house. I walked into the kitchen, which had been lightly lit by the outside lights. First thing I see is a very tall shadow figure in the doorway of the bathroom, and my dad standing toe to toe with this massive thing. He's mumbling something and then he says loudly, "Leave me alone." I'm terrified, so I ran right back into my bedroom. My dad's mental state took a turn. It was a struggle for the family to get him help. Eventually things escalated and my dad was considered a danger to himself and others and was able to get help he deserved. They did not find drugs in his system and eventually diagnosed him with schizophrenia. I don't know why we saw this thing or what it was. I think it was preying on my dad's weakness. Can people with mental illnesses see past the curtains? Since this day, that question runs through my head a lot. In 2013, I was a freshman in college. There are always university stories with haunted dorms, rooms, or basements, so I never thought anything of it. When I heard that our dorm, Rogers Hall, was very haunted. Within the first 3 weeks, 5 girls attempted to commit suicide by jumping off the building. Thankfully, they were unsuccessful, but for sure rocked us and made us start to believe that there may be angry presence hanging around. One early morning, my roommates and I were asleep, and we always left the TV on, and we were in bunk beds. This is kind of important to the story because normally my roommate couldn't get out of bed without waking me up. When I woke up, I didn't have my glasses on, but I could see a girl standing in front of our TV. She had medium brown hair, was wearing a grey sweatshirt and some jeans, and she looked like she was chewing on her sleeve. I immediately thought it was my roommate and rolled over to turn on my desk lamp and grab my glasses to ask her why she was up so early. When I flipped on the light and grabbed my glasses, she was gone, and I thought maybe my roommate went to the bathroom. So I got out of bed and looked up at her, and she was still sleeping. I shook her awake and asked her how she got up there so quickly. She had no idea what I was talking about. The same day, within a few hours, our friend that lived down the hall went to the communal bathroom and was washing her face. The door to the bathroom was very heavy and scraped the door when you opened it. She said she heard someone open the bathroom door and she saw someone walk behind her. She didn't think anything of it because it was our floor's bathroom and girls were waking up to get ready for classes. On one side of the bathroom there were toilets, and on the other side of the bathroom there were showers, but there were sinks and mirrors in the middle for both sides. Our friend was on the side of the showers. She said she saw a girl walk in to the shower as she was washing her face. She never heard the shower turn on and she called over to her, asking if everything was okay. She even walked over to see if the girl needed help, but there was no one there. Nothing ever happened again to either of us that year, but it still creeps me out. When my sister was young, probably about 5 or 6, we had just moved into a new house as a family. My sister was always good about sleeping by herself at night, which was ironic given how I myself was not. But regardless, she gave our parents relatively little trouble sleeping by herself, except one night when she had a particularly rough night and went downstairs to ask my mom to come sleep with her, because as little kids tend to, she got scared. My mom goes upstairs with her and lies down. My sister falls asleep, but my mom is struggling to fall asleep. That is until my dad gets in bed behind her, holding them both. Helps my mom fall asleep. They all pass out together. Mom wakes up, Dad isn't in the bed with them anymore. That's fairly typical. My dad gets up super early to go to work most mornings and lets my mom sleep in, so she thinks nothing of it until he gets home. She asks him when he came upstairs to sleep with him last night. As he was asleep and my sister first asked my mom to come to bed with her, Dad replies that he never left their bed, slept by himself downstairs all night. Who got in bed with my mom? From 2010 to 2011, my family lived briefly in an early 1900s house in Ashton, Kentucky. The house was 3 floors, with the 3rd floor being converted into an attic. My older sister's bedroom was essentially the whole 3rd floor, while my younger brother and I shared a room on the 2nd floor next to my parents. For my siblings and me, there was a definite culture shift in moving to Ashton from Nashville, Tennessee. We went from a more suburban area to a somewhat more remote area of northern Kentucky. We were further in Appalachia and the people were definitely different. We noticed it first in the behaviors of our next door neighbors. The house on our left belonged to an older hoarder named Joan. The woman was rarely seen, but monstrous when she would confront my family and me. She didn't drive, but there was an old grey sedan filled to the brim with newspapers and trash that sat in her driveway for as long as we lived there. Her backyard was littered with ancient-looking antique statues and furniture. After once finding my brother and I snooping around her yard laughing at all the junk she had collected, she made a statement along the lines of, "Ruth should straighten you out," and motioned back towards our house. We never thought much of it until our next door neighbor mentioned that a previous owner of the house was a longtime friend of hers, named Ruth. Ruth had died in the house years before. Hearing that was more than enough to creep the hell out of my brother and me. Inside of our house, it was my sister that first started having strange experiences. She was around 17 at the time, yet almost like a young child, she could hardly stay in the house by herself. She said that her bedroom scared her and that she felt like something was in her closet. The 3rd floor had 3 closets, and the biggest one had 2 sliding doors. My sister mentioned that many times she would think the door was closed, look away, and then find it open without any explanation. At nighttime, there were a few times when she came downstairs knocking on my parents' door, asking for them to keep it down, only to notice that the noise wasn't coming from anyone in the house. It was muffled speaking that only my sister could hear in her room. After a few months, my sister became so uncomfortable on the 3rd floor that she moved into our 2nd floor guest room. My brother and I quickly begged to take the 3rd floor room because it meant more space. We didn't really know at the time how scared my sister was of the 3rd floor. Right away, I was definitely able to feel tension in the room. I would often feel like I was buzzing on high alert for no reason. One way to describe the feeling would be that it was similar to how you'd feel moments after someone almost hit you with their car. Even after the moment is over, you can feel your heart race, your mind buzz, and senses heighten. Almost daily I would feel the tension in the room and start to get this overwhelming feeling. The sliding door closet was, for whatever reason, the center of a lot of incidents I witnessed. Multiple times I watched the door slide open with no one pulling or pushing it. The floor was level, and we tested the AC to see if an air vent was causing the sliding door to blow open, and we couldn't find the connection. One night my brother had his friend over and they were playing Legos in the room in front of the closet. I watched as the shut door slammed open just behind them. The 3 of us sprinted downstairs screaming, and though my mom was able to console us, she told me years later now that she was terrified. She fully started believing that something was in the house once she had the closet slam open in front of her. She then felt a cold rush around her shoulders and back and panicked and left the house. About a month after that, she moved my brother and I back into the 2nd floor bedroom, and we only used the 3rd floor as a guest room. Though it's been 10 years, I still remember being petrified of being in that room alone. even during the day. It was a very stressful point in my childhood, and I feel like I still attach a lot of negativity and bad memories to that time. I've never had other paranormal experiences outside of this, but my experiences in Ashland were so strong that it is tough for me to be a skeptic. Something is truly in that house, and it could very well be a ghost named Ruth. This happened a few years ago. We've had a few things happen in the house over the years, but mostly footsteps and things randomly falling off shelves. This is one of the more creepy things that happened. I work from home and my husband works second shift, so I was in my office working and he was in the bedroom sleeping. I thought I heard him in the hallway, and then he knocked on my door, which is unusual. He normally just walks in if he needs me. So I got up and opened the door, and no one was there. I went to the bedroom to see what he wanted, and when I opened the door, he asked me why I was knocking on the door. I told him I thought he was knocking on my office door, and I was coming to see what he wanted, and he said that no, someone knocked on the bedroom door, and he was upset that I woke him up. We were both a little freaked out. And that's it for the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment what is your favorite, and if you've also got any stories you'd like to share, please let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.